My name's Raquel. I'm a fiction writer. I have a couple short stories to read for you guys. We'll see how it goes. Maybe one may be quite enough.
Closer to the mic.
Closer to the mic?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first story is literary fiction. The second story is science fiction. And I guess I should do a trigger warning. This short story has sex and drugs and a little rock and roll. So
Yes.
just all right. It's called Between. It's like a mixture of 50 Shades of Grey and Bridget Jones' Diary, I would say. Okay. Tessa. Tessa remembered this. The small talk between them, the inside jokes they tried to make have meaning, and the smiles. The smiles and the passing hellos in the hallway and the stairwells all semester. No matter how many friends he was with, no matter how many friends he was between, she never failed to catch his eye. And this too. He had hugged her after their last class together before winter break. As Tessa recalls, it was no big deal really just a quick squeeze of her shoulders and pulling her into his chest, filling his arms with her. Tessa remembers his smell, cologne on the top and bottom, cigarettes in between. But it was no big deal really. They were just friends, just two buddies saying goodbye before a separation. Two friends hugging and nothing more. This is what Tessa remembers. Of this, Tessa is sure. Tessa thinks it was the hallway of the psychology building that she first saw him after break. He hugged her and Tessa remembers. Tessa was sure that he emitted this sound, a kind of sexual sound, she thought. Well, just an really, a really deep and low And Tessa remembered that the sound felt good, like the feel of her long velvet skirt. It wrapped itself around her, held onto her hips and rolled gently over the skin of her thighs while he pulled her closer. And this came from a deep place, deep and low down. And he looked into her eyes, and Tessa didn't really know. Tessa wasn't quite sure. Tessa didn't know what this could mean, what to make of it all. Tessa remembers that squinting into the bright sun of late afternoon, he asked her for the first time, he asked her, "You should come over to my place after class, hang out a while," he said. Later, inside the yellow Volkswagen Bug, Tessa remembers jokes and smiles, full, thick smiles and laughing, and more small talk, and this, a sentence she will never forget. "I have to stop and pick up my wife." The words fell between them, sticking to the vinyl seat cushions, and "Oh," she said, "oh," and paused. And did she stop breathing? She can't be sure. She knows she was still there with him in the front seat of the yellow Volkswagen, with all those words between them. She knows she was still there with him and all those words in between. In the air they breathed in and out. In. Okay, Tessa is scared. She's not giving this away. She's not telling Nathan. She's not telling him that she's disappointed. She's not telling Nathan that she thought maybe there was something more between them. Something more than words. She thought something more than just words was between them, but of this she could not be sure. So she is not telling him that maybe she wants him and was wondering, has been wondering, wondered if maybe he wanted her to. Out. Did he want her to? So where does she work, your wife? It's right up here on the way home. Cat's the manager of the Copy Central on Vanessa. The manager? Oh, she must be a bigwig. They both laugh. They are laughing. She remembered they laughed and Nathan turned on the radio. Banda music held the air between them. "Do you like this kind of music?" "Yeah, it's nice." "My dad's Mexican. He used to listen to this all the time." Two sideways glances, his and hers, momentary, taking everything in. "My mom is white. My dad left her because she was too strong for him." Oh. Another sideways glance, his. "Oh, I think you're just being nice, accommodating. You're too nice, I think, Tessa." A quick flip to the alternative rock station and the messy, discordant music. Another sideways glance, hers. She is frowning, and then the electric beat of the Bondo fills the space again. For the rest of the ride, Nathan keeps flipping stations. Tessa remembers he is always in between her legs, inside her skin, between her. I'm a really bad boy, bad to the bone. Nathan smiles at her again, and through her laughing, he says, "No, really, I wanted you to know from the very beginning that I'm a bad one. You ought to watch out for bad ones like me." Walking into the copy central, Tessa sees two men and one stunningly beautiful woman. Gorgeous, really gorgeous. Tessa is sure that Kathleen is beautiful. It's a tall, voluptuous, beautiful, desirable woman. Of this, Tessa is absolutely certain. Of this and nothing else. "Hey, Kat," Nathan calls out. "This is my friend from school, Tessa Kat Tessa." "Oh, hi." "Hi, nice to meet you." "Kat, I invited Tessa over for dinner. I hope we didn't have any plans for tonight." Watching Nathan get Kathleen's permission to have Tessa over was really too much for Tessa. It was completely humiliating. Tessa is feeling completely humiliated, standing between Nathan and Kathleen. "Oh no, that's fine, Nate." Nathan, silent. Tessa, "Wow, so you're the manager here?" Nathan, silent. Kathleen, "Yeah, it's a pretty lame job." Nathan, silent. Tessa was definitely losing it. Tessa was definitely feeling completely lost, and she was definitely feeling quite ridiculous. Nathan is beaming, standing in between. Kathleen mesmerized Tessa. Kathleen's lips were so delicate, moist, full, stained a sticky crimson like Grecian wildflowers. Tessa is truly mesmerized. Tessa is seeing Kathleen's blue eyes, her shoulder-length hair, auburn, her desired lips and body, and Tessa is feeling perfectly ridiculous. She's feeling quite ugly, and she's feeling quite the ugly duckling and perfectly the fool. "So you ready to go, Kat?" "Yeah, just let me tell Maz. Maz, I'm taking off a little early, okay?" She yells. She is turning and flipping her long hair over her shoulders. "Thanks for picking me up, babe." She is dripping honey and sweet all over her man. "Today was hellish. This guy comes in first thing this morning and orders like 5,000 business cards and says he needs them all done in like 20 minutes or something ridiculous. I'm trying to tell him that we need at least a week for large orders. I mean, in a day, come on." And Nathan opens the front door and Kathleen steps onto the sidewalk. Suddenly they notice Tessa still standing by the industrial-sized color printers. Kathleen howls. "So you gonna stand there all night, or you gonna come with us?" Nathan, Kathleen, and Tessa sit in Nathan and Kathleen's TV room and chat about San Francisco gardens, the high cost of education, feral cats, art, cats painting, 80s punk bands, growing up in American Canyon just outside of Sacramento, where to get the best burrito in the Mission, where to go to get the best weed on the Haight without getting ripped off, and lots of other things Tessa can't remember now. "I have a little speed," Tessa announces. "I don't know if you guys are into it." "Oh yeah, we love it, don't we, Nate?" Kat purrs. Tessa remembers thinking this is the first time Kathleen's shown any interest in her all night. "Well," Nate starts slowly, catching Tessa's eyes and her mouth and her breath that is going in and out, and then also the space between. He catches her in the space between each breath where everything stops and is quiet. In the quiet, he finds her and holds her there for just a moment until it all stops. It is stopping. It has stopped and is quiet. "I would love to, but there's two of us and I don't want to do all your stuff." "Oh, it's totally cool. I've had this for such a long time. It's time to get rid of it." "And are you sure? You are so nice, Tessa. I mean, this is really nice of you. This is quite an unexpected treat." Out. Tessa wanted in. She wanted to be in. She wanted inside. She wanted beauty. She wanted to be beautiful. She wanted them to like her and want her and maybe to need her a little too, and to invite her back and to enjoy her company and to think of her fondly and to do just a few lines with her. Quiet. Cutting lines is a ritual that reveals knowledge, expertise, and artistry. Tessa cut, and they all did, and they continued to sit in the TV room and talk about bands and that song, how's it go? You know, the one that goes, and can you believe that Brandon said to Kelly last week on 90210? And I can't believe it, because I would definitely do Kelly. Oh yeah, me too. I would definitely do Kelly. And I only watch it because Nate watches it, but I don't admit it to anyone at work. And oh, isn't Dr. Montero the coolest? If I were black and gay, I would definitely be him. And wouldn't you be him? Oh yeah, me too. I would definitely be him. And if he were straight, I would definitely do him. I mean, wow, this stuff is pretty good. Thanks, Tessa. And went to bed. So I guess you guys are going to bed now, Tessa said. Tessa recalls Nathan saying something like this. Well, Kat's got to try to get some sleep before she has to go to work. Something like that, Tessa thinks. But Tessa is sure she remembers Nathan leading her down the red hallway in the opposite direction from Kathleen. Tessa can't be sure now, but Nathan might have said something like, but we have separate bedrooms, when he led her down the red hallway in the opposite direction and opened the door to his green room with the big papyrus tree and the whirring crickets and the croaking frogs in the aquarium that hummed and hummed and hummed in Tessa's ears for this, the very first time. Tessa remembers that Nathan must have closed the door and looked at her like he wanted her, and looked at her like he wanted to tell her a secret, like she was a secret he wanted to tell. And he said in a low way, he whispered, I want to do things with you. I want to. He stopped and shook his head, and Tessa breathed in. Nathan must have closed the door because now Kathleen was opening the door, was leaning her head in and saying, good night, babe, are you guys going to be able to sleep? Tessa remembers Kathleen is beautiful, her hair all wrapped up in a blue terry cloth headband and pulled away from her face, and baby fine wisps gently sticking to her alkaline mouth, her mouth smeared white, her alkaline mouth smeared white with toothpaste. Kathleen was smearing her beautiful on everything, on the outside of Nathan's door, and the space between her and Nathan, on the hook that locked the door from the inside. Nathan giggled obscenely. Oh, I don't think I can sleep. Can you sleep, Tessa? Tessa didn't answer. And this Tessa remembers distinctly. Kathleen was smeared beautifully, was beautiful, and Nathan was walking over to the bedroom door, was kissing Kathleen on her smeared lips, was kissing Kathleen goodnight, and after kissing her beautiful smeared mouth, he locked the door from the inside. And this too, Nathan turning around and looking at her and walking over to her and whispering in her ear and licking his lips and smoothing his mustache and speaking so slowly it hurt. It hurt her, his speaking. And Nathan said, I want to sleep next to you naked all night. I want to wake up next to you and spend a whole day and see no one but you. Yes, these words Tessa will always remember, remembers, will always remember these words. Quiet smiled and closed her eyes. Tessa's quiet. The second night Tessa stayed in Nathan's whirring room in Nathan's bed, Tessa felt a kiss on the back of her neck in the middle of the night. It woke her from her sleep, its softness and its words, what she thought were telling her that he desired her body, was desiring her, was really wanting her, but she was thinking she must have dreamed it, must be dreaming the words telling her of his desire, of her desired body. So she simply smiled inside and tried to keep dreaming and letting the words desire her and whirring crickets get softer and softer, falling farther and farther behind, and the slit of the moon grew fainter and fainter still between the green of the papyrus leaves. The third night she slept in Nathan's room, in Nathan's bed, behind the door that locked from the inside. Tessa was sure, yes, she was positively certain, that Nathan kissed her in the middle of the night, in the middle of her sleeping, He kissed her in the middle of her dreams, of desire, of desiring her, of her desiring him. He kissed her on the back of the neck. Lying on Nathan's arm, Tessa turned her head and kissed Nathan's arm passionately and abandon. Tessa remembers her open mouth and her tongue lingering in the crease of his elbow, and that kiss, that return kiss, this Tessa thinks is how it all started. That's how she and Nathan became nightly, almost every night, secretly in Nathan's wild, lovers in Nathan's wearing, lovers nightly in Nathan's bed. Tessa remembered that sometimes she wanted to scream or moan, but Nathan told her to be quiet. She had to be quiet, keep it down so that Kathleen wouldn't hear, because Kathleen, his wife Kathleen, mustn't know about Nathan and Tessa, about Nathan and Tessa's desire. Kathleen couldn't know, Nathan said. She mustn't know. Tessa thought Kathleen had to know or didn't want to know. Nathan said Kathleen couldn't see. Tessa didn't want Kathleen to see. Tessa thinks Kathleen had to see. Kathleen couldn't hear. Tessa remembers thinking Kathleen had to hear, but Nathan said that Kathleen mustn't hear their desire. Quiet. Kathleen went to England to visit her best friend, and Tessa finally felt happy. Tessa remembers feeling this happiness, like she and Nathan were real, like she was Nathan's real girlfriend. Tessa remembers loving Nathan, wanting to love someone like Nathan, who loved her body nightly and loved her all the time with his body and with his hands and with his teeth and with his tongue. Tessa remembers that while Kathleen was away, she practically moved in, and that the day Kathleen left, she packed a big bag and went over to Nathan's that night and brought the big bag with her, and Nathan opened the blue trim door on Fell Street and saw the big bag and laughed and said, "Planning on staying a while?" And ecstatic, Tessa said yes, and dropped the bag in front of the closed door of Kathleen's room by the front door, and Nathan, walking backwards, took off Kathleen's black leather motorcycle jacket and let it sag toward the floor in the semi-darkness of the hallway, lit red, and he threw her on the carpeted floor, and falling on top of her, he said, "Do you trust me?" And yes, Tessa said yes, and laid down there beneath him, quietly letting him kiss her face and her lips and her neck. And he said, "Now you kiss me," he said. "Kiss me now," he said. "Now you kiss me back." And Tessa obeyed, excited, learning how to excite him, and Tessa tried to please him, excited. She tried to please him in everything she did, and in the way her body moved beneath him, between his legs, rubbing against his jeans, him hard and exciting, and she kissed him again, and again on the neck and his cheeks, and bit him gently, her teeth tracing the angles of his chin before resting roughly in the folds of his neck. And he, excited, was feeling new feelings. He was always teaching her new things about herself, and he was always bringing new feelings to her surface, and was always putting new feelings between them. And Tessa remembers this. The first time he changed her fear to desire, the first time, that first night that Kathleen left, when he raised his hand behind his head and brought it down fast, right before he realized her skin. And prickly, exciting fear came up, was there in Tessa's body, in the carpeted hallway beneath him. And she wanted him, and she wanted everything. She wanted to learn new things, and she wanted to learn how he liked it, and she wanted to learn how he liked her. And she wanted to like new, wild, exciting things. And he said, "Ask me to do it." And she said, "What?" And he said, "Ask me to do it." And Tessa remembers perfectly how she whispered it to him. "Hit me." How she whispered it to him, then scared, exciting, because she didn't know how to say it, how to say what she wanted, and how to do it the best way, the way that he liked it, how to excite him, and how to be this desired body that she knew she wanted to be. And he smiled down at her below him, and loving her, he said, "No, I want you to really mean it. Ask me again when you really want it." and she kissed his neck more and more, and his face, and his hands, and his lips. And exciting, she said, "I want you to hit me." First she whispered it in his ear, and then she said it out loud in the semi-darkness of the red hallway. On the carpet beneath him, she growled, "Hit me." And he struck her face hard, pure, clean, like desire, like his desire that he gave, that he was giving, that he had given to her. Exciting, she remembers it changing there on the carpet, on the floor beneath him. He raised his hand and brought it down tenderly to stroke her again. "Hit me," she said. "I want you to hit me." That night they stretched out naked on the top of the sheets, lazily, unhidden, languidly like cats. Tessa remembers falling asleep to the whirring of the crickets and the mechanical hum buzz of the aquarium's filter. For the next 3 weeks, Tessa remembers that they went to school together in the yellow Volkswagen, came home together after school, and she pretended they were real. She pretended they were a real couple. And she felt things in her body, and she felt things changing. Tessa felt that if this was what Nathan could offer, this is what she would take. That's how Tessa remembers it. That's how Tessa remembers feeling, but it's hard to say now. She remembers Nathan taught her things, showed her how to do things, taught her about desire and wanting and asking and getting. And this she remembers too, love. She remembers how he pummeled her with the fist of his love, pulled her in tightly as he had his love from behind, pinned her arms firmly behind her back, and loved her again and again. How he loved her with his fist in her stomach once, how he loved her with her arms held tightly over her head. Tessa remembers thinking his love was exotic, like his papyrus tree or the croaking African dwarf frogs, how his love was forbidden, like some ancient Egyptian text. How she was leaning and how she was learning, and how to be good, and how to be good at love and at letting go and loving freely without possessing, at loving freely, wildly, passionately, with abandon. But sometimes now Tessa thinks she was only learning how to love at a distance, how to love with rules. Tessa thinks this because she remembers how Nathan said to her while Kathleen was gone, "Are you getting attached? Don't get attached," she said. "I told you, Tessa, I'm a bad boy, and what I do is I leave." Kathleen. Kathleen returned from London chipper and missing her man. She had presents for him and things she bought for him and things she bought for herself to show him and clothes she wanted to try on for him and stories she wanted to tell him about her trip and pictures to show him of the castle she stayed in with her best friend Beth. Tessa had forgotten how Kathleen had to have Nathan's attention, and Tessa had to let her interrupt because, after all, Nathan was Kathleen's man, and Tessa and Nathan were just friends. Tessa remembers how chipper Kathleen was when she returned and how sweetly she said, "Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, but Nate, I'm just so excited to see you, honey." And Tessa remembers knowing that it was time to go because the real wifey was back. And she, Tessa, was once again to become the secret, the mistress, desired and disowned. Tessa welcomed Kathleen back and grabbed her big bag on Hay Street. She boarded a bus to Bart, the taste of Nathan's cum still in her mouth. Looking out the window of the bus, Tessa reminded herself that she said she wanted to take what was given and love it and accept it and ask for nothing more. Tessa still thought that love was that deep pain inside that made her wince morning after when he loved her from behind. She thought it was like that clean smell, that nauseating chemical smell of pine solvent. Just like she thought that beauty was white skin and straight hair. For Tessa, that's how it was. That's what she remembered of Nathan's love and her mother's cleanliness and of the beauty that all men desired. Kathleen was beautiful. Tessa remembered that always. And this too, that she, Tessa, was not. She couldn't forget it as she passed the billboards on Market Street, the pictures of high-fashion models and images of beautiful, desirable women. But sometimes when Tessa was with Nate and she was feeling her body, feeling it breathe in and out, and feeling it in and out, expanding in circles, overwhelming circles, all out and out and out, and more like a flood, like maybe she could. Sometimes she thought that maybe she could be beautiful, although never in the same way Kathleen was. Tessa remembers now that it was Nathan who showed her that feeling for the first time, those overwhelming circles all out and out and out in circles, with her hands in tiny circles, enlarging circles on the soft skin of her. His tongue in circles in her mouth, his tongue in circles and his hips in circles, slow circles and faster circles, circling between the layers of her skin. Yes, she thinks it was with Nathan that she felt this for the first time, when he pulled her skin, punched her skin, peeled her skin back in layers, burned all the layers, ate all the layers, buried all the layers, and found her in a place where she was pure, like desire. And now Tessa thinks she can remember how to get to this place again without Nathan, because really, Nathan could only really take her there when Kathleen let him. And now she remembers thinking, finally realizing how really very tiring that was, and how really it was quite a drag. Tessa rings the bell and gets off the bus on Market Street across from Burger King. Later she remembers getting off the bus on Market Street and remembering how good Nathan was, and how bad too, how good and bad he was to her, and how she pushed open the back doors of the bus that day when Kathleen returned, and stepped off the bus, and walked across the street to Burger King, and bought a hamburger and french fries, and onion rings, and a milkshake too, to help her get that taste out of her mouth, to get that taste of Nathan's love, the taste of the only love Nathan could give, out of her mouth. And this too, she remembers that Nathan was right, he was always leaving. And one final thing, she remembers how the taste was had changed, was already gone, was really gone already, even before she took the very first bite. Thank you.